Chairman, I'm going to use the first minute or two to deal with an issue perhaps relevant to the Middle East Subcommittee and also to the rights and privileges of members of this committee. There are a number of statutes that require the administration to give notices to the committee. And of course, in due course, those are shared with the ranking member and notices shared with all members of the committee. There's probably nothing more important than preventing nuclear proliferation, and an important part of that is whether we agree to a nuclear cooperation agreement with such countries as Saudi Arabia. These come together because in 2020, I was able to add Section 1264 to the NDAA, which requires that before the President even begin to allow Congress to review a nuclear cooperation agreement with Saudi Arabia, he has to file 90 days in advance of the beginning of the review a statement with this committee, a report. And in fact, it appears that a report was filed in late November. It is quite possible that this report went to your personal office rather than the committee's office, in which case it would have been ineffective and the clock would not have started. In any case, no Democrat became aware of this, at least no Democrat on this committee became aware of this until this month. Now, I hope that this committee will draw the line and say that report has not been filed with the committee, at least until February, and that's when the 90 days begins. But much more important, we've got to look at whether we want a nuclear cooperation agreement with Saudi Arabia that does not have the safeguards that we negotiated with the UAE. And that's why I hope members of this committee will co-sponsor a bill that I've sent a dear colleague out on that is the bill that Senator Rubio and I introduced in 2018. And it requires that for a nuclear cooperation with agreement with Saudi Arabia, there has to be an affirmative vote of Congress. So while the procedure is interesting, the substance has got to be that we need an affirmative vote. I think Senator Rubio was wise, perhaps sometimes wiser than Secretary Rubio, and I hope that all members will join me in that effort.